In this video, I'm going to explain to you the system that I use in order to understand astrology and make it a primary experience. I'm going to give you something known as the theater analogy to explain how the various aspects of astrology work together to create the energetic conditions we experience here on Earth. My intention by creating this content and putting this information out there is to connect you with the information that you need to make astrology a primary experience. This means you do not need to go to anybody else for their opinion or analysis on anything. You can look at the sky, reference your archetypal energies, and make the conclusions for yourself. Okay, so here is a birth chart. And I know the captions are going to be right over top of it, but I'll try to make them smaller and do what we can. This chart in particular came from masteringthezodiac.com. It is a true sky sidereal astrology birth chart. So you'll notice there are a couple of differences, mostly that the sections around the outside, which represent the zodiac, are different sizes because this represents the actual sizes of the constellations in the sky. This is one of the foundations of true sky sidereal astrology, actually looking at how long each of the planets and etheric bodies are in the star groupings or constellations known as the zodiac. So you must take into consideration that some of those star groupings are larger than others. The other main difference from this particular birth chart is that if you notice in the top right corner-ish of the wheel, there is a black symbol, a black section that you might not be familiar with. This is Ophiuchus, the 13th zodiac sign. It is the higher octave of Scorpio, so it shares the 8th house of death, endings, and portals. Death and rebirth basically is the combination of Scorpio and Ophiuchus. But I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, so let's explain how this actually works, okay? So as I said, the circle around the outside is the zodiac, okay? There are different sizes per constellation, and so they go around in order. In the bottom starts Aries season, bottom left, and it moves along the different zodiac signs as they appear along the line of the ecliptic, and that is what the outside wheel is, okay? The inside wheel with the numbers are the houses. In this particular chart, they line up, so they correspond with the colors. So houses 1 through 12 represent the zodiac archetypes in order from Aries to Pisces, with, as I mentioned, the 8th house being shared by Scorpio and Ophiuchus. In this particular chart, they line up, so you can see the color correspondences, but that is not typical. Well, I shouldn't say it's not typical. It's not going to be the case in every chart because it's based on the rising sign. The rising sign is the constellation that was rising in the east on the eastern horizon at the moment you were born. It changes every 2 hours, which is why the most accurate readings come from knowing your precise time of birth, because it allows us to pinpoint when your soul goes through the portal and enters the neutrino stream. Okay, so the final aspect of understanding a birth chart and how astrology really works are the planetary beings or etheric bodies, which are represented by all of the symbols on the white part of the inner part of the circle there, okay? So this is, again, how astrology works. We're meant to be charting the movement of these bodies as they travel the line of the ecliptic, so they'll move around the circle through the constellations on the outside, and then the houses are basically like the area of the life, right? So again, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's explain the theater analogy. So to interpret your birth chart, there are 3 aspects: the planetary bodies, the zodiac signs, and the houses. The theater analogy is an easy way to understand that. So the planetary beings or etheric bodies are like the actor. Okay, they're the person or the personality. They each have an archetypal personality and energy that they radiate as the actor in the play. Okay, the zodiac signs also have archetypal energies or themes, and they are like the costume that the actor is wearing. Okay, so the actor, the planetary being, moves through a zodiac sign or constellation, and it's wearing a particular costume designed around that type of archetypal energy. And then the house is the stage or the area of your life that it is playing out in. So astrology is also kind of like bingo in the sense that the etheric bodies continue to move along this path and pass through constellations, and then they interact with each other via different aspects, right? So they'll be opposing each other, they'll be squaring, like basically forming different geometric patterns where their energy, like their orbs and the energy that they're emanating cross and combine, right? So that's what the aspects are. So when like that, if that pattern is just never ending, right? And your birth chart is a snapshot of what was going on at the precise moment that you entered the neutrino stream. So when you're following the weather forecast, as far as astrology goes, and there's a lot of action in a particular area, if of the sky, if you have action in that area of your chart, it usually means that you're going to be touched on or activated, or the certain conditions are going to be created in order for you to play out different aspects of the karmic story that we're here to unwind. Astrology is just like the weather. It's basically creating certain energetic conditions to allow events and experiences to play out. Again, to reiterate, with the sole intention of us in human bodies to have experiences and play out the never ending pattern of different situations and scenarios and endless potential playing out. That is the whole point of our existence. That is what we are doing here. Now, personally, I followed tropical or Western astrology quite heavily for a number of years with this sort of intent, like with the predictive nature of it and really getting into, this is happening and that. But like, it's not meant to be like an external authority. It's meant to be something that you can use, like an awareness that you can have in order to facilitate your own internal growth, right? Ultimately, it all comes down to you. So personally, I don't really even follow the astrology that closely. Like I've been following it more recently to create content to put these forecasts out for you guys. But personally, I it's more of an entertainment thing or just like a casual thing for me to consume that information on my own now. I really only pay attention to the moon because the moon is the closest to us and it has the most direct impact on how we're feeling because that's what it does. The moon is here when it's full, its energy pulls things to the surface for us. So it, just like it pulls the tides, right? Like it pulls emotions to the surface for us in order to have experiences and work through the karma. So I found personally the most resonance with following the moon, like when it's full, sending shit to it, like allowing it to pull things out of me. And when it's in the new moon cycle phase of the cycle, starting fresh and starting a new intention. So that really is the only thing I follow super closely these days. So I share that just to put out the message that like the intent is not for you to get super intellectual about this. Like it really isn't that big of a deal. But if you follow it with a kind of detached attitude, you can be aware of things. It's kind of like a permission slip, that like, oh, you're not crazy. Like this is actually just touching on this, but it's not causing it, right? It's nothing outside of you is making you feel any sort of way. It's just creating a certain sort of condition. And ultimately you are deciding how to feel all of the time because you're the source, you're the creator, you set the tone, you decide how you feel no matter what.